happening, guys? Hope you guys are well. Good morning. Things are hitting me super hard again immediately in the morning. The concept of purpose over pleasure. If you're not really getting this, then I'm just going to keep on trying to help you understand what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, how it's actually working. You know, in the Vedas, like we talked about before, they talk about how controlling your senses is going to be one of the first steps towards a more enlightened consciousness. And why is that? It's that when you're constantly hunting after sense pleasure, it's self-centered. It's about you. And ultimately our consciousness can expand outwards just infinitely. That's where the actual pleasure is. It's a totally different type of pleasure, a deeper pleasure that comes from the service and the concern and the love and the compassion and the empathy for others and for your environment and ultimately for the Supreme. In the Vedas, it talks about linking up with the Supreme. A lot of people are calling it, you know, universal consciousness or infinite intelligence or God or the Supreme Person, all of these different things. There's different angles of vision that describe this ultimate source of energy. But that's what we're wanting to tap into. We're wanting to tap into that devotion, that devotional service, that bhakti. And we can do this through the service of others. And so once we get our world right, our perception right, our mission, our focus, our determination, our meaning and purpose right, when it's aligned properly, and we work on that, we walk that path, that's when a whole new world opens. This is an unknown world to most, and it's an unknown world to those that are too immersed in these pleasures. That's why we're restricting our food. We're restricting our timing of the food. The food is simple. In my case, it's mostly raw. You don't have the mindset of thinking what's going to be the next meal, what's going to be the next taste. You don't have that mindset anymore. That's not what you're searching after, because you know that actually restraint from this is what's giving you a higher taste and actually giving you the energy to go out and do more service. And then it comes back to you 10 times. So you're riding a wave of energy that's just literally unstoppable. And so actually when you can't serve for some reason, or you're not serving, or you're stuck in a situation where you don't have your service outlet, that's when you start feeling a lower vibration. And a lot of times that's when you may go and seek sense pleasures of different types, because you need something. You need to be linked up into some source of energy. Otherwise you feel empty and lonely and depressed. You got to be linked up to something. So you're either going to be linked up to those temporary sense pleasures that just come and go, and you're just constantly hunting for the next link, you know, for the next vessel for you to attach to suck energy out of. That's what you're actually doing. You're sucking pleasure from things that have a very limited amount of pleasure, and often they have a downside. You sucked out a bunch of pleasure from a bunch of food that was full of sugar and salt, and then the body rejected that, and so now it's sick. You sucked out some pleasure from some relationship because you were empty, and then it blew up and went sour. That's happened to me many times. When you're looking out into the world, what's your view? What's your goal? How do you see people and your environment? Do you see it as something that you want to exploit, that you want to use? Or are you looking at it from the point of what you would like to give? And what resources are you developing within to give? This is the magic. This is 100% the magic. I'll never be able to be convinced now, after seeing this, that this is not the ultimate. And this is the ultimate human experience, and it can be developed infinitely for eternity. You can even transcend this physical body, even in the here and now. And then when you leave this world, The Vedas talk about entering into transcendence, entering into the spiritual world, entering into that divine consciousness and those wonderful, beautiful spiritual relationships with other living beings that have the same consciousness as you and with the Supreme. This is what we're going to be teaching on the channel. This is the highest value. More and more people are starting to catch on to this. All these pleasures that actually taking them down a dark road. And even though I came in contact with these teachings long ago, I still got trapped. I still got sucked in. Because it's not easy. You have to have a paradigm shift in your consciousness. You have to go against what most of society is doing and saying and thinking. You feel alone in that sense, especially in the beginning. As you develop more, you don't care about that anymore because you know you're on the right path, and the feeling and the energy you get is completely sustaining you, so it doesn't even matter what anyone else does anymore. You just know what the mission is. But in the beginning, you have to have solitude, and you have to remove yourself to some degree from the rest that are just walking down that path that will ultimately not fulfill. So this is a challenge for a lot of people. But it's not that difficult for me. If you look at my lifestyle, it won't be attractive to most people. I'm alone, in my mind, in my heart, thinking, working towards these goals, contemplating, meditating, being introspective. And I'm working on this discipline. I'm working on this project. And it's becoming very fulfilling. It's not really becoming work anymore. The problem is that a lot of people, they don't want to do the work to get to the point where it's no longer work. It's only work in the beginning because you haven't figured it out. And you're not getting that amazing energy that pushes you on effortlessly in the beginning. It's just a foreign world to you. The sense pleasures are just constantly harassing you. You know, when I first started, it was like, I really wanted the salt, and I wanted the sugar, and I wanted the foods that I love, that I was using to get through the day, to have some meaning. Oh, I wouldn't have any meaning in life if I didn't have my favorite foods. I wouldn't have any meaning in life if I wasn't able to listen to my favorite songs. If I wasn't able to see the things that I like to see. If I wasn't able to have the sexual experiences I want to have. I was like that. I was always like that. Little glimpses of trying to get out of that. But I couldn't see that there was any other way than that because that's all I saw everywhere. That's all I saw everyone was always doing. I didn't know that there was this whole other hidden world. It's like the flip. It's like the whole world is now flipped upside down. And I'm talking to people about this, and a lot of people, they just don't get it. They can't imagine that it's possible. But you're not going to be able to imagine that it's possible. It's not part of your imagination. It's not a part of reality for you. For you, it's just going to be considered, it's almost like it'll just break your brain. Like, what are you talking about? The whole world is meant for sense pleasure. All of our senses are just constantly looking outwards for the next thing. And yeah, I believe that, and I lived that, and I experienced that. I'm just like all of you. I'm no different. It's just that somehow or other, I came across people that planted the seed of what could be, and I thought intuitively that maybe this could be true, because I've been experiencing so much letdown from all of the energy that I've put into just going hunting all these pleasures. It hasn't been working for me. I've been disappointed and frustrated and saddened often. If it was working for me, if there's no worries, everything was cruising along super nicely, then I would never have thought to do anything else. But there's always a side of that where I would get burned, and especially in relationships. I would approach relationships with a mind of what can I get? What kind of pleasures can I get? And that destroyed them. Every single time that destroyed them. So I'm not gonna just destroy myself and go through pain over and over and over again if I can help it. So then I come in contact with the Vedas and also some modern teachers that say, yeah, too much, just a little bit of pleasure every day. It's tempered, it's regulated. So I'm not drinking, not doing drugs. I have a strict vegetarian diet, mostly raw food, simple foods, not hardly any salt, no added salt at all, no added sugar. It tastes great. I eat raw berries and salads. It's a different type of taste though. It's not that kind of taste where you're at the fancy restaurant and you're like, oh my God, this food is so good. It is good. But how long does it last? And then what does it do for you in the long run? So it gives you 1 out of 3 things. It gives you temporary, like, oh my God, this is good. But then it turns your body into crap and it's gone quick. But when I eat the food I eat, it just has this nice, simple taste. It's not like I'm relishing the food so much. It tastes good because it's healthy and it's what my body's meant to use. But then it makes my body feel unbelievable. My performance is amazing. So that just sticks with me forever. It's building a body for the rest of this whole entire life. And it's helping my consciousness by the restriction and by the vitality. Same thing with the workouts. It's the same thing with not wanting to use people. How can you give? That's the love. That's the compassion. That's the empathy. That's the humility. And getting your finances in order. It's one of the disciplines that you can manage the money, because the money's power. And the reason why the money can corrupt you is because it can be used very easily and very quickly for sense pleasures. You get $1 billion, you could have a line. You could have sense pleasures lined up for the rest of your whole entire life, just one after another. Drugs and sex and food and adventures and on and on and on and on. Why do you think all the rock stars and the movie stars and the billionaires and, the famous people and most successful in so many different areas, some of them, not all, some of them commit suicide, die of overdoses, have multiple marriages? Even these other guys, people that are, the red pill communities and, these different things, they're trying to get the masculinity going stronger within the youth and things like that. This is the only part that I see that they've missed. They don't get that part. They don't understand the stoic restriction and restraint and what that does, what power that gives. In some ways they do. Some of them will train hard. So that's one aspect. Some of them will be restricting on their diet, but a lot of times with the women, it's not restrictive. And that's the biggest one. That's the most powerful one for a man. If they're restrictive with that, and that's why one woman is so good. That's restrictive in itself. And then if you're restrictive in that relationship with true love and care, you're top tier. That's the absolute top tier. Once you've mastered this, I'm telling you, all the doors open for those who can master these things. And that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And that's what I'm going to pass on. This is going to be the formula. I can't stop, because I can't feel right when I don't give this. It feels wrong. It feels off. It feels the same as if I'm just walking along the street and then like a woman is being abused and I don't help. I just walk by oblivious. That's what it feels like. Because I have something that's been given to me, a divine gift that's being revealed to me within, and I'm applying it and it's working. And for me not to give, and for me not to be enthusiastic, and for me not to sometimes be speaking with a strong message like everyone, hey, wake up, would be selfish and wouldn't be loving. It would be incongruent. It would be misaligned. And you can't be misaligned because it just feels wrong. It's like the alignment on a car, or you're going to the chiropractor to align your back and your bones and everything, because things feel off. So I've got to be in alignment. Otherwise, my life doesn't work. So that's the only thing that you have to know when you go down this path. Regular life won't work for you anymore. But it doesn't matter, because that's the old life. That's the inferior life. It won't have any value to you anymore. You might have a little residual feelings of, oh, I remember when I used to do this. That's just the old life testing you to see how serious you are about this new journey, and how you want the door to be completely open to unbelievable levels of bliss and ecstasy, because that's the reward that you've got ahead of you. You got a life that your old life doesn't even compare. It'd be like comparing a drop in the ocean to the whole entire ocean. Talks about this in the Vedas. Sense pleasure is like a drop. This transcendental consciousness is an ocean. How many trillions and quadrillions of drops are in the ocean? It's just, it's not even conceivable. So think about this. This is what is being offered. And it's pretty simple. It's just, in the beginning, it's difficult and it's foreign. It's like being in the darkness. You're out on a hike and it's dark and you're walking the path and you can see the path. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk the path and shed light on the path in real time of my experience with this, and also sharing with you from the previous masters that have walked the path and see everything as light as day. This is the key.